So now that we've used the gangster genre film to look at a couple of different tools and historical processes and issues that come up that we can focus on to develop our understanding of a genre, let's step back and look at the crime genre in greater detail as a whole. Now, generalizations are really dangerous, but let's see if we can use some of the tools that we've had, such as the prototypical definition, to characterize this genre of crime a little more interestingly. And I want to make statements that are deliberately sweeping so we can see the benefits and the problems that making definitions like this creates. So the first overarching statement that we might attempt to make is to say that crime in real life is an aberration. The crime in real life that happens every day does happen every day, but it doesn't happen to most of us most of the time. Crime is actually, in most civilized societies, kind of unusual. In fact, most of us get through life without experiencing a single crime. For most of us, it's only through movies, television, novels, or news reports that we ever encounter a crime at all. Now, I could be dead wrong about this, but I think if you think about it and you look in your mind, have you ever really been involved in a crime? Or has a crime been perpetuated against you? It really is rare for so many people in the world to be involved with the police, or attend court, or deal with criminal lawyers, or go to prison. The police and the law are almost invisible institutions in everyday life that we only become fully aware of when we have either committed a crime or a crime is committed against us. Now, to be fair, that depends on exactly where that you live, and certainly some parts will have more police presence than others. I, for example, live in Germany, and it's rare to see the police anywhere, but I have also lived in the US where a police presence is a lot more evident, and I'm from Canada where it's somewhere in between. But nonetheless, crime is just not jumping out at me left, right, and center. And I've taught this course in universities, and I've asked students, how many of you have ever had interactions with the police? And very few people have ever had that. And I say, how many people have ever been with a criminal lawyer? Nobody puts their hands up. So the real question is we have a presentation of crime in the movies that is not necessarily reflective of our everyday life. And so crime genre movies treat crime as if it were an everyday occurrence that happens to everybody all the time. And in this kind of movie, crime is not only presented as a normal part of society, crime is treated as if it's something that we expect to have happen every day. Gangsters do nothing but steal. Drug dealers do nothing but deal. And murderers do nothing but murder. And there's this illusion that this is happening all the time. And likewise, detection and the attempt to prevent crime or to punish it is always ongoing. So crime detection and prevention go hand in hand, and the crimes themselves need to be there, so one thing requires the other. And we can see this, for example, in, say, the Batman films. They belong very much to this crime genre. And if you look at The Dark Knight, the Joker draws this connection out explicitly when he says, "You just couldn't let me go, could you?" This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. You truly are incorruptible, aren't you? You won't kill me out of some misplaced sense of self-righteousness, and I won't kill you because you're just too much fun. I think you and I are destined to do this forever. So this is a very telling speech that demonstrates the philosophical concept, I guess we could call it, that the crime and the law call each other into existence. And if you look in Nietzsche's The Birth of Tragedy, he discusses something very similar when he talks about the tension between Dionysus and Apollo. So whereas Apollo represents pure forms such as light and reason and math and the eternal truths of justice, Dionysus represents darkness, rot, decay, and drunkenness without any reason. Or at least arguably, one comes up with reason in this drunkenness, but it just doesn't have a purpose. It doesn't need to have a purpose. And we may not know exactly why either of these two forces exist, but when we pair them together, they give each other definition. We can't truly know one without the other, and this is the same with the relationship between crime and the law. There's a tension here, and it helps explain why stories in the crime genre are so popular, because one calls the other into existence. The force of detection of crime helps us understand what crime is and gives us a way of saying why it happens. even if that answer isn't fully satisfying or even correct, it's a way of helping us make meaning. And crime itself helps us make meaning of why we feel that we need to find meaning, why detection exists. So there's some real existential and philosophical issues going on. In Sherlock Holmes, for example, it's not just about detecting crimes and solving crimes and so forth. It's about solving why bad things happen in the world and trying to put meaning on it. And one of the biggest reasons why this is so popular is not just that it gives us meaning in our lives, but it's also because this kind of movie appeals so highly to our dislike of boredom in life. It entertains us by appealing to our need for variation, for random things happening, and also the solution to that, which is security and our need for happy endings. But one interesting thing to think about in the crime genre is, are there ever happy endings? Do crime movies ever fulfill this need that we have to be safe? Because as in real life, crimes in the movies disrupt normal, everyday order to the point that some figure of the law or representative of the truth or justice has to show up and restore that order. But order never lasts, or order is only ever temporary, or there never is any order. It's just a matter of how much crime is there. So think of it like this. Crime movies usually involve the attempt to solve a central crime, but on the understanding that crime may be tidied up by the end of the movie, but you are prompted to realize in your gut that crime itself will go on. So the very end of most Batman films makes this very clear, because there's the promise of a new threat that's revealed. That, or we're given an indicator that Robin will take over the job of Batman after Bruce Wayne departs. So order is never truly restored. It's only temporarily restored. And the issues of crime and injustice will go on, and the heroes will constantly be needed whenever order is disrupted. And this is counterintuitive, and we can make this part of a prototypical definition of the crime genre movie. And that would say that ongoing crime is the real order in society. It's actually the detective or the hero who is the disruptive element. And this is counterintuitive, but if we wanted to define crime genre, that is one thing I think we could say. The hero is not really heroic. If we think back to that concept that we talked about, the pharmacon, where the cure is the poison and the poison is the cure, the heroes of the crime genre, they often have to navigate the shadows between justice and criminality. So Batman, Paul Kersey in Death Wish, Dirty Harry in the Dirty Harry movies, they solve crimes, but they do it really inefficiently. They have to break the law in order to uphold the law. And as we're saying, they can never complete the job precisely because they have to join in the fray in order to handle the crime. They have to actually be part of the crime in order to get a handle on it. So we have this Apollonian and Dionysian dance between order and disorder, and so we have this also in crime. Crime calls justice into existence in the same way that justice makes it possible to define crime while making crime a possibility in the first place. So a lot of what's going on is that we are naming crime in the crime genre and trying to figure it out, trying to see where it begins and where it ends, and can it ever end. But without naming it, these things that happen are just behaviors in the world. So crime films tag behaviors. They give certain behaviors visual signs that we can understand at a glance. So in The Dark Knight, for example, we never see the faces of the criminals robbing the bank at the beginning of the movie along with the Joker. And we don't need to see their faces because our training in movie conventions tells us more than we ever need to know about them. If you think about it, you didn't for a second think about who these people were in their personal lives. You didn't look at these guys wearing clown masks and wonder how many kids they have or where they went to school when they were kids. The masks that they're wearing tell you that they are bad guys, pure and simple. Now this is requiring us to participate in cliches, but it appeals to our need to be able to just instantly understand things that are criminal and really whitewash them, not get deep into analyzing it. They're bad people, right? And this appeals to our need for safety and security. But in this world that we know safety is never completely secured. in our prototypical definition that we're building here of crime genre, this is the key, that films are inherently circular in nature. This feature of the crime genre contrasts with the thriller genre, for example, because in a thriller, crime is usually represented as an isolated event and the efforts of a few characters to deal with that event. But in crime film, like Death Wish or Batman and so forth, the crimes we witness ensure that we know that crime is happening everywhere and crime is happening all the time, and it's just something we can see very simply at a glance. And if crime is going on anywhere and everywhere and without end, then we need someone who can deal with it all the time. And so for this reason, that person is forced into being a hero for some reason, and it could be for personal reasons, or it could be that they're pushed into it as part of a duty and so forth. But the more detailed a film is, the more shaded and complex the relationship between criminality and justice will be. Ironically, the more troubled that hero is, the more heroic they will seem. So Batman, for example, usually transcends his darkness, drawing us even closer to him, because we find both his anger and his commitment to justice attractive, and we find it more and more attractive. But part of the beauty of the Batman story is this lingering question. Is he really out for justice, or is it that he has the never-ending need for revenge against the simple criminals who killed his parents? And questions like these are part of the enduring appeal of Batman and the crime genre overall. So please watch The Dark Knight if you haven't already seen it, and see Death Wish, because we're going to be talking about it, and this will help you get a strong sense of how crime genre films make crime very, very easy to see on a visual level, and has these heroes who are struggling with their dark sides that helps us navigate questions of justice and questions of whether we can ever feel safe and what it takes to feel safe. And so I look forward to seeing your comments in the Facebook group about these issues.